My name is Tony Roman, and this time my video is not directed to the ABC prosecutors, judges, or even the person I refer to as a tiny tyrant in Sacramento, Gavin Pelosi. On behalf of all patriots who support our stand against their lockdown tyranny in defense of American liberty and freedom, I have publicly challenged and shamed them all in previous video messages calling them out for their traitorous acts against my fellow Americans. You can see all those videos posted at makerestaurantsgreatagain.com. Today's message is for the director of the ABC, Eric HIRATA, a relatively new Gavin Pelosi appointee. Hey Eric, before that coward appointed you director in July 2020, he already burdened your agency with making it an arm of his tyrannical lockdown mini Gestapo, and your agency had a choice to follow its collective conscience. But like all others, instead of bravely standing on the side of American freedom, you sold out for a paycheck, and your agency used its new power on behalf of the little dictator to try and strike fear in all business owners. Unfortunately, almost all other businesses, if not every single one of them, across the state and even the country on day one, when ordered to comply with lockdown threats, did exactly that. Most complied fully, others, at minimum, complied on some level, and for at least some period of time. And there were even more who were so frightened they shamefully enforced above and beyond the empty mandates. All of them scared to lose what they worked so hard for, with no regard for what's most important, disgracefully surrendering their liberties in exchange for promised security, in essence making a deal with the devil, except for one. By now, you surely know about us. You see, we aren't talking heads who put nothing at risk. We aren't paid so-called patriots financially benefiting for the stand we take. We aren't compromised, having an allegiance to anyone, any group, or any entity. We are simply men of action, with only an allegiance to God and country, this country. We are Basilico'S Pasta e Vino. And because our stand is pure and true, we are the only restaurant, bar in California, maybe even the country, that has, in a style of open, bold, and aggressive defiance, never complied for 1 second with any of the Chinese Communist Party-inspired lockdown orders and mandates you try and help enforce since they began in California on March 19, 2020. Because tyranny has no place in this country or any other, we have ignored your petty threats of retaliation. And because your behavior is treasonous, we haven't resisted lockdowns, but we have attacked them. We have openly defied by operating fully and boldly, inside and out, with zero restrictions, and also, unlike all others, have even publicly taunted Gavin Pelosi and state agencies like yours when doing so. So when the ABC and others he controls, along with your lockdown-loving mass shamers, have hit and run, trying to bully us, we have counterpunched, hitting back even harder with our messages and actions. Again, unlike all others, we have been provocative in our defiance, doing things like not only not wearing masks, but publicly banning them entirely from our property. And when curfews were ordered, we extended our hours. And these are just a few examples. And we have always had real people serving our customers, real servers and bartenders using real menus. We never social distance, but instead patriots connected here because they got close, with them crowded inside and out, and temperature checks and proof of vaccines. Are you kidding me? Never here. This has remained vintage America. Staying open for the sake of business for us has never been our objective, but staying open in how we have done it and what that represents to us and our fellow patriots has always been. You being new in charge, if you need to catch up or want to be reminded of how we fight and the kind of battle you are faced with, you should ask around. Otherwise, check out our Facebook page and Instagram too, at Basilico'S HB. You can see it all documented there. Unlike the others, you won't ever see us on TV or online wearing masks while crying about what's unfair and what you did to us. We will not use exemptions or excuses when defying everything you try and force on us. We never will, because we will never be victims, because to be a victim is not American. We aren't like the others you have faced, who have just begun fighting when we are already in round 10, 11, and 12 of this battle. And when they do, still only dare to defy in an attempt to win small and partial victories. We didn't wait 15 days or even 15 seconds. We instead stepped into the ring when the bell rang for round one on March 19, 2020, We intend to walk you all down into the corner where you and your co-conspirators of tyranny will either throw in the towel or we knock you out. And we will never tire until that happens. But we know you will. You see, Eric, and everyone watching, in most wars, it is our military men and women who are sent off to bravely defend our freedoms. But in this one, your mini-master has declared war on churches and small businesses, especially restaurants and bars. He has chosen to target all of us as his enemy in this battle. Is it because he and his gang of fascist tyrants across this nation know that throughout American history, it is in the houses of worship where people pray together, and taverns where people eat and drink together, where patriots gather and rebellions are organized? No matter the reason, because he has targeted all of us, this time it's the obligation of every American business and church to dedicate itself as a battleground. This time we must be the ones who step up and volunteer as the soldiers for freedom in this fight. Again, also unlike all others, as I've said since day one, our defiance has never been about the right to work or run a business or pay a rent or pay our employees, etc. And since this nonsense began, I have never once whined about trying to save our business. Our stand has been about something far more important, only being about defending American liberty and freedom. And as I have also made clear in this fight, we have pledged our business as a constitutional battleground, risking everything, laying it all on the line, willing to sacrifice it all to do our part in helping preserve our great country as we knew it and all it has stood for since its founding. We have and will always do so in honor of our nation's founding fathers, who risked everything to gift us the protections of our God-given freedoms, and our brave soldiers who have given their lives defending them since. We salute them. You see, Eric, we view this fight between us as a battle of wills. The tyranny your agency supports and looks to help impose and enforce versus our will to defend freedom and to destroy any remnants of your lockdowns wherever they exist, including what your Red Army comrades just tried doing in Orange County when that failure pretend doctor, Clayton Chow, attempted to impose vaccine passports on citizens here. He's backed off for now and thinks by throwing a bone to protesters as an obvious diversion, the bone being that only businesses will be permitted to require vaccines, that now freedom-loving American patriots will let him off the hook. But like Tom Hagen once said to Sal Tessio, can't do it, Clayton.
Tom, can you get me off the hook? For old time's sake.
Can't do it, Sally.
Just like masks, we won't stand for your idea of vaccine passports as another weapon against American freedom anywhere. Eric, you and your gang of anti-American bullies just can't help yourselves. You just don't get it. You keep picking the wrong battles. Under Gavin Pelosi's direction, your agency has acted as the tip of the spear for lockdown enforcement, trying to intimidate all businesses holding a very valuable liquor license, threatening them with revocation if any of the silly orders or mandates were violated. And in doing so, you have betrayed Americans. So as explained, we defy them all, even publicly attacking them and daring the tiny tyrant to follow through on his criminal case against us and to officially file charges. And of course, we have still heard nothing from him. We have also refused to appear for our ABC court hearings, making it clear that we will never go on bended knee to answer for the multiple alleged violations, to defend ourselves for something that needs no defense. Look, again, unlike the others who fear you and lawyer up for their defense, some even surrounding themselves with people of deplorable character, I don't have lawyers, and people still urge us to sue your agency and others like it. But as we honor the founders and our brave military men and women in our stand, I think of my hero, George Washington. He didn't sue the British to win our freedoms. He just charged into battle and kicked their asses. So for us, we do not represent the lack of fighting American spirit we sadly see in 2020 and 2021. That's not us. At Basilico'S Pasta Vino, we roll 1776 style. So in that same tradition, we too will not leave our destiny of freedom in the hands of weak, spineless lawyers, judges, and courts. We aren't looking to set a legal precedent. In true vintage American spirit, we are fighters, so we'll leave lawsuits to the others. And instead, we'll look to set a fighting precedent for all to follow the next time you decide to try this nonsense. We will never appear and stand before you to answer for the ridiculous, childish, make-believe charges you have against us, granting you authority over us where there is none. And that is why instead we still publicly stare you down and everyone else associated with lockdown tyranny, and while doing so mock you for your clumsy goose-stepping comedy. But now it's the moment of truth, and it comes because one of my guys found this in the garbage. How about it? An apparent preliminary decision for punishing us has finally been made. After all of the time, funds, and resources you have all wasted for over 1 year, and the threats made by your master, your agency's judges, prosecutors, and agents to destroy businesses and livelihoods for defying mandates, especially in the manner we have. Your courts and Judge D. Hubel, is that even a real name, now recommends that you consider authorizing to only punish us with, get this everyone watching, only a 30-day suspension? Seriously? As we thought, you have no real will. You don't believe deeply in what you're doing compared to our belief in what we are doing, because evil is on your side and God is on ours. So here is my challenge to you, Eric. Although I have zero respect for you as an American for your subjugation to the tiny tyrant in Sacramento who has tried attacking small businesses like a yappy teacup chihuahua trying to nip at our ankles, I would have more respect for you as a man if you at least try and act like you believe in what you have been doing and follow through on your BS threats by making a real attempt to revoke our license as you threatened. You will have 2 chances to do so, showing us all who you truly are. The recommended punishment that now sits on your desk, and as a judgment for the second round of charges against us now also makes its way through your court. Your actions have helped ravage businesses and personal lives because you apparently believed in this pandemic of fear. So if you truly believe, at least be a man of honor and punish as you promised. Because in this face-off, you are not just looking across the ring at just any opponent. Honor for us means everything. And because of that, we took you seriously. And that is why we have been willing to take all incoming fire from every direction because of our stand. Or do the women in your agency have bigger balls than you and your master? At least your supervising agent out of your Santa Ana office who initiated these cases against us admitted openly under oath that she and her partner are members of Gavin Pelosi's mini Gestapo and confessed to their willingness to carry out your dear leader's orders, even if it meant violating the rights of Americans. Yep, she said it, and it's in the transcript for all to read themselves. So don't be afraido, like the little dictator in Sacramento, who I've been taunting all along. Now I dare you to be a man of your word and go ahead and show us by dropping the hammer. Try and make the consequences you promised worth our sacrifices in this fight. Try and make us an example. You couldn't choose a better symbol of lockdown defiance and defender of liberty and freedom over the past year to step up and punish. Here I am, just one man, standing against the great power all of you diminutive despots think you wield. And remember, although I'm just one man, my stand represents millions of American patriots. So go ahead, here's your chance to try and punish us all. Come on, bring it. As the final judgments against us lay on your desk, awaiting your approval until they are official, what will you do? Will you show us who you really are and try and disguise your burning desire to serve your puppet master by fraudulently wedging us into the same category as businesses who commit true alcohol-related violations and even crimes, those you have punished with equal or lesser sentences compared to what is proposed for us, giving them lighter sentences in comparison for serving underage customers, some of who have even driven off and killed themselves and others? Or the others who operate a true disorderly house, as you accuse us of doing, for only practicing our constitutional rights, giving the others a pass who sell narcotics from their restaurants and bars, where there's gambling and prostitution, where there are even shootings, those things being the real definition of a disorderly house, as outlined in your book of penalty guidelines. I suggest you read it and tell me where it says anything about wearing masks and social distancing. And to be clear, even if it did, we would still defy and attack such communist influence rules until they are crushed out of existence from American life. Go ahead, revoke. It would be a badge of honor for us. And if you don't have the guts to prosecute us, as your agency promised, then finally do what's right and confess that you have no authority over us and all others in this matter. That your role is not to do Gavin Pelosi's dirty work, anchoring yourself to him, a sinking rowboat. Come clean and say that you just wanted to ride his coattails because you thought he was a rising star. But be careful, because he's not rising. He's about to crash and burn, and you're going to go with him. So admit that you have been on the wrong side of this fight and on the wrong side of history, behaving more like an agency under the boot of a North Korean megalomaniac instead of one that looks to empower honest American business owners and help them thrive. Come on, make it easy on yourself and finally surrender to us all. You see, what you're not getting is that no matter what you do, we still win. Why? I promise to defy no matter the consequences, that we would proudly sacrifice it all to stand for freedom, by never complying with any arbitrary orders created out of thin air by the tiny tyrant. We have done so since day one, stonewalling all enemies of freedom during the lockdowns. We knew, now proven by your agency's proposed measly 30-day suspension, that unlike our true and real pledge to make sacrifices to defend freedom, your threats to destroy it were built on a house of cards. So we have called your bluff, and we won't stop until we blow the whole thing down. And as little Gavin's playhouse of cards comes crumbling down, you can either save yourself so you're not remembered for being his little lapdog, and you can pick another battle, focus on really protecting the interests of communities by investigating and prosecuting real alcohol-related crimes. Do the right thing and walk away and pretend none of this ever happened. Drop all charges and fines against all law-abiding, freedom-fighting businesses in your crosshairs, or we will see you go over the cliff too, as you hitch yourself to Mini Mussolini wannabe's little wagon. As I've said, we don't have lawyers and aren't insulated by layers and layers of bloated government bureaucracy as you are. But what we do have is a growing army of freedom-loving Americans. And the more you try to bully and dictate to people like us, the bigger and bolder the defiance among patriots will become. On behalf of your master, you have cried wolf, intentionally spreading your pandemic of fear among most. But what you didn't count on as a result was the rise of the many new lions and lionesses your march towards fascism has created. I have seen them in person, and they are impressive. They have come from everywhere to stand with us, and depending on your decision, you and your gang of jackals just might soon see them too. And you will then get to witness their ferocity to defend our American way of life for yourself. We're ready for battle. Are you? So to all of you watching from the sidelines, especially the men shaking in your boots, frozen in a state of fear, doing nothing for your country and your fellow Americans, and worse, emboldening the enemy of American freedom with your embarrassing subjugation, shame on you. You, though, still have time, but it's now or never. Find your honor and courage, be a patriot, and stand with all of us. Until then, leave the mask, take the cannoli, make restaurants great again. God bless my mother Rose and the good fellas of Basilico'S. God bless our military, and God bless America.